Hey, hey, Tiffany. I'm running a few minutes behind this morning, y'all. We live, y'all. We live. I'm done. Almost done. Right on YouTube. Okay. There we go. All right, beautiful people. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. We live on both places now. Forgive my tardiness this morning, y'all. I decided I was just going to lay back down for a few more minutes. It happens to me, too. I should not have did that. Yep. So that's why I'm late this morning. Sorry, y'all. Very beautiful people. It is Thursday. Oh, shoot. We ain't going to be here tomorrow. It's Thursday already. Oh, man. Look, and I was super excited. Deuteronomy chapter 10, y'all. I just posted. I read, y'all see, when I mentioned it when we get to it. Let me go ahead and get started here. Well, we will have to wait till Saturday to hear this part. Okay. Okay. All right, beautiful people. It is Thursday already. Thursday, February the 18th, 2021, day 81 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 750, 750. Yes, 750. That is without the Sabbath days and the feast days, Sabbath days added into the count. Boker Tov, Corey. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we're reading Deuteronomy 7, 8, and 9. Shalom, shalom, mother. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead here with the Shema. Oh, Tiffany. You remember a few years ago when I had this dream? I think it may be, it was I was talking about it in the family group. I had this dream. And I heard Yahuwah say to me, I'm going to frost them out. You remember that? Girl, that I keep thinking about that dream with all the stuff that's going on in Texas right now. I'm like, oh, shoot. Is this that? Like, I got dreams that I've had stored up for years. Yes, you remember it. Okay. I'm just like, ooh, is this the time for this dream? I'm just like, what? So, I know it's a lot of it's some conspiracies going around. Oh, this is fake snow. The snow not melting. I'm like, people, I don't know. It was some guy that posted a video. He said, what kind of snow is it? He said it's not even melting. He had it sitting on his stove. He said he tried to boil some so he could melt it so they could use it. He said it wasn't melting. Now, I didn't necessarily see it. He showed it on the stove, but he didn't show that the burner was hot. Right? I would have believed it if he would have showed that the burner is hot, and if he would have showed that the oven is on. Like, because when you have your oven on, he looked like he had an oven like I got, where it got that heater core down at the bottom, and when your oven is on, especially like when you first open it, that jank turn red. Or if you move your pot, if you have, you don't even have to show that it's hot. You can just get some kind of liquid or something and put it up there, or get a piece of butter, put it up there. Look, it's melting, it's hot. Watch this. Like, he didn't do none of that. You was talking about that last night, Tiffany. Oh my gosh. I'm just like, guys, listen here. Y'all better quit playing around. I know I just switched back and forth between two topics, but that melting of the snow would have been believable had he would have proven that the stove was hot. Not saying that he was lying, but I'm just like, I don't know. Like, with my analytical mind, I need some more proof, right? I need you to show me that stove is hot. Don't just sit a pot of snow up here saying you've been trying to melt it. He said they put it in a microwave. He said they put it in that was the first thing he said. He said they put it in a microwave. In a regular microwavable bowl, he said when they cut it on, he said it started sparking, almost blew the microwave up. They said they open the door. They're like, wait a minute. They check it, make sure wasn't nothing wrong with the bowl. It was just the snow in one of the bowls that they normally use in their microwave. It said almost blew their microwave up. So that's when they tried to put it on the stove to melt it, and it wasn't melting. So they cut on the oven. They said they cut on the oven and put it in the oven, and but it wasn't melting. But they showed us the snow in the pot, but they didn't do any kind of demonstration, right? I would have did some kind of demonstration. You know me. I'm just not gonna. I don't know. He could have been telling the truth. He could have been telling the truth. But for something like that, us inquiring minds, we need to see a quick demonstration real quick, right? You know, because we don't know you, like, we don't know your history. We don't know if you're a liar or not. So you need to show us just a little bit of proof. I mean, I know that sounds bad in some way, but I'm saying we don't know you. We don't know that you're credible, right? So we don't know if you're just doing this for likes. So show us something. That's something he could have showed. He could have taken like another bowl. Look, this is the bowl. Pour it in here. Look, I'm going to put it in here. Watch this. Sparks like, oh, snap. That's really snow. He could have like went outside. Look, I'm going to get some more snow. Like he could have did some kind of quick thing, but he just had it sitting there. So I'm just like, he possibly could be doing it for likes. His voice didn't necessarily say he was doing it for likes, but sometimes they're good actors. But either way, right, it should have, but you got to remember, they all without heat too, you know, so it is cold there. Like Texas never got this kind of weather, you know, so it's like they're with, you know, it's cold there, people are freezing, the heat and the water is not working, right? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm like, Father. And then they're talking about another cold breeze supposed to be whipping up through here. I'm like, yeah, see, look and see what's going on in Texas. Like, although we know here in Virginia, like I was talking about yesterday, the heater core is here. It doesn't, if it's microwave. See, Dana, I didn't even think about that, right? I didn't think about that because some people have, they say they don't have electric stoves. They have gas stoves, which is good for some people. Right, but it looked like he had an electric stove. So, girl, I didn't think about that, Dana. That's right, because but he didn't say if his electric was out. A lot of people's power is out, but he said he used the microwave, right? And he used the stove, but that's something that I didn't necessarily say that, connect that with the power, but I'm like, show us a demonstration, show us that this is not melting, which is connected to the power, but you just said it in a different way. But I don't know, y'all, but either way, we ain't playing with the most holy around these parts. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all now, it's, I don't know, if y'all got cold front and stuff supposed to be coming through, if y'all ain't learned about getting a generator last year, y'all better go ahead and get one. Like, so I'm just going through our list again. I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking about dreams. I was like, okay, this look like it's about to start pushing back this way again. I had before I had even seen this yesterday, I had woke up yesterday. I told James, I was like, I'm going to go through here and get everybody blankets and stuff and make sure all these blankets are. I said, because we ain't dealing with some of this foolishness that I believe is about to start happening. I got up thinking about it. I was like, yeah, no. Come on, everybody, all the blankets and stuff, because sometimes they'll go through, like I have blankets, watch them, like, don't touch this stuff. It's like, we don't really need it for real. So I take it and I put it in a vacuum bag and stuff. I was like, okay, it's time to break all this out just in case. We believe the Most High, but we ain't going to tempt him either and just not prepare when stuff, you know, because remember, in Egypt, everybody was affected by the first 3 plagues, right? And apparently we are still in the first 3 plagues. Yeah, did I do that right? Yeah, the first 3 plagues. But it's a lot of things happening, but everybody's being affected, right? So we're going to do the, you went to the laundromat, washed up all your big comforters on Sunday. Yeah, I'm telling you, y'all, just think about some of this stuff. So I'm just like, Father, whatever it is, we're preparing as much as we can. You know, it's better to be safe than I always say. It's better to be prepared than to let it catch you unprepared, right? And especially when you have children. Like, if I was single, I could rough some stuff out by myself. I really could, but I am not willing to take that chance, especially with small children. I'm just not. Some people say you do too much. Yeah, I know. We gotta get us some wood. I told James, I said we're gonna probably need to learn how to work this fireplace. We know how to work it, but I'm just saying we've never had use for it. You know, we really haven't. Even on some of them cold nights, it's so many of us here in this house that we all just huddle up together. But I really started thinking about that. But we got our generator and everything. We put that joker to good use last year because we was without power. Shoot, how long was we without power? I think we was without power for almost 4 days. And even on 4 days, thank y'all we had running water, but I even got stuff for that, you know, like the water purifiers. I got the purifying straws, like you was out in the wilderness, and like all those things. So just little things. I'm watching and I'm paying attention and I'm taking heed, just gathering a little more here, a little more there, you know. So you better check, make sure no birds have built nest in there, you know. And I think it's a squirrel in there too. That's one of the big reasons We ain't really used it. The kids come running through the house. It's an animal on the chimney again. We can't see it. We got this cover on it or whatever. But you can hear, I don't know, they could just be playing up at the top or something, but nothing's ever falling down. But sometimes we can hear something, in there. But anyway, I was just saying, I just said all day. I know that was kind of like a long intro. But I'm just prepare where you need to prepare, y'all, because things are happening in places that it seems like the seasons are shifting in places, right? Places where it was hot is beginning to get cold, and places that were cold is heating up, Yeah, survival training we've been working on for years. I got all kind of survival manuals. I even got a chemical warfare one on how to combat chemical poisoning and stuff, not thinking that we're going to be poisoned chemically, but I just, military, and I'm thinking about my training. I was like, oh, let me break this out, because I didn't get rid of all my military stuff, like some of my survival training things, and I was like, we just put all this, and we got our little bag, our survival and emergency bags packed and stuff, and I make sure all this stuff is right in here, but and I just, I'm going to go through and do a check again today, check on stuff, and just like, I don't know, not saying, but I'm just, when stuff like this happening, I just tend to begin to do these checks, just in case, because I don't want us to be caught off guard, Belinda Brown, hey, Auntie. Okay, y'all, so let's do this, shimmer, and get going with this reading today. Hear, pay attention. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he has promised us. Great rising, Shayla. Uncle James Brown in the house. Okay. All right, beautiful people. So here we go. We are in Deuteronomy 7 today. Guys, all the book of Deuteronomy is good. It's good through all of it is good, but these chapters we about to read through here. Oh, why is this going down? Hold on, y'all. Did my computer just freeze? Oh, okay. But all these through here, just through is good. Okay. Nikki, hey, Grand Rising. Okay. Okay. All right. The privilege of holiness. When Yahuwah your God brings you into the land you are about to enter and occupy, he will clear away many nations ahead of you. The Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. These 7 nations are greater and more numerous than you. When Yahuwah your God hands these nations over to you and you conquer them, you must completely destroy them. Make no treaties with them and show them no mercy. You must not intermarry with them. Do not let your daughters and sons marry their sons and daughters, for they will lead your children away from me to worship other gods. Then the anger of Yahuwah will burn against you, and he will quickly destroy you. This is what you must do. You must break down their pagan altars and shatter their sacred pillars. Cut down their Asherah poles and burn their idols. You are a holy people who belong to Yahuwah your God, all the people of the earth. Of all the people of the earth, Yahuwah your God has chosen you to be his own special treasure. Yahuwah did not set his heart on you and choose you because you were more numerous than the other nations, for you were the smallest of all nations. Rather, it was simply that Yahuwah loves you, and he was keeping an oath he had sworn to your ancestors. This is why Yahuwah rescued you with such a strong hand from your slavery and from the oppressive hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Understand, therefore, that Yahuwah your God is indeed God. He is the faithful God who keeps his covenant for 1,000 generations and lavishes his unfailing love on those who love him and obey his commands. But he does not hesitate to punish and destroy those who reject him. Therefore, you must obey all these commands, decrees, and regulations I am giving you today. If you listen to these regulations and faithfully obey them, Yahuwah your God will keep his covenant of unfailing love with you, as he promised with an oath to your ancestors. You remember how I always say, if we keep Yahuwah's commands, he keeps us. He keeps those who keeps his commands. I'll read it again. If you listen to these regulations and faithfully obey them, Yahuwah your God will keep his covenant of unfailing love with you, as he promised with an oath to your ancestors. He will love you and bless you. He will give you many children. He will give fertility to your land and your animals. When you arrive in the land he swore to give your ancestors, you will have large harvests of grain, new wine and oil, and great herds of cattle, sheep and goats. You will be blessed above all the nations of the earth. None of your men or women will be childless, and all of your livestock will bear young. And Yahuwah will protect you from all sickness. He will not let you suffer from the terrible diseases you knew in Egypt, but he will inflict them on all your enemies. So also think about some of the things that you've seen happen to our people in like the hard times of bondage. A lot of those things, you kind of seeing the tables being turned in a lot of different ways, right? Look, even I would. This could be a stretch, right? This could be a stretch. But they used to muzzle our people, right? The whole world is muzzled now with these COVID masks. I'm just looking around. I'm just like, oh boy, people don't really know what's going on here. Don't get me started on all this. Okay. You must destroy all the nations Yahuwah your God hands over to you. Show them no mercy and do not worship their gods, or they will trap you. Perhaps you would think to yourselves, how can we ever conquer these nations that are so much more powerful than we are? But do not be afraid of them. Just remember what Yahuwah your God did to Pharaoh and all the land of Egypt. Remember the great terrors that Yahuwah your God sent against them. You saw all of it with your own eyes. And remember the miraculous signs and wonders and the strong hand and powerful arm with which he brought you out of Egypt. Yahuwah your God will use this same power against all the people you fear. And then Yahuwah your God will send terror to drive out the survivors still hiding among you. I'm sorry. Let me read that again. And then Yahuwah your God will send terror to drive out the few survivors still hiding from you. No, do not be afraid of those nations, for Yahuwah your God is among you, and he is a great and awesome God. Then Yahuwah your God will drive those nations out ahead of you little by little. You would not clear them all away at once, otherwise the wild animals would multiply too quickly for you. But Yahuwah your God will hand them over to you. He will throw them into complete confusion until they are destroyed. He will put their kings in your power, and you will erase their names from the face of the earth. No one will be able to stand against you, and you will destroy them all. You must burn their idols in fire, and you must not covet the gold, silver that covers them. You must not covet the silver or gold that covers them. You must not take it, or it will become a trap to you, for it is detestable to Yahuwah your God. Do not bring any detestable objects in your home, for then you will be destroyed just like them. You must utterly detest such things, for they are set apart for destruction. Y'all need to do a once over through your house and make sure there's not anything set apart for destruction in there. Go ahead and do that. Just make sure it ain't in your house. All right. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 8. No mercy, but grace. Grace. Grace is all people keep talking about to me is permission to act up and sin purposely. You better say that, Dana. Let me tell you that. I'm gonna get off. You right. I'm gonna just say you right, and I'm gonna keep on reading because you gotta. You're right. I got so much to say about that. Okay, but we're just going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 8. Be careful to obey all the commands I am giving you today. Then you will live and multiply, and you will enter and occupy the land Yahuwah swore to give your ancestors. Remember how Yahuwah your God led you through the wilderness for these 40 years, humbling you and testing you to prove your character and to find out whether or not you would obey his commands. Yes, he humbled you by letting you go hungry and then feeding you with manna, a food previously unknown to you and your ancestors. He did it to teach you that the people do not live by bread alone. Rather, we live by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah. For all these 40 years, your clothes didn't wear out and your feet didn't blister or swell. Think about it. Just as a parent disciplines a child, Yahuwah your God disciplines you for your own good. So obey the commands of Yahuwah your God by walking in his ways and fearing him. For Yahuwah your God is bringing you into a good land, For Yahuwah your God is bringing you into a good land of flowing streams and pools of water, with fountains and springs that gush out in the valleys and hills. It is a land of wheat and barley, of grapevines, fig trees and pomegranates, of olive oil and honey. It is a land where food is plentiful and nothing is lacking. It is a land where iron is as common as stone, and copper is abundant in the hills. When you have eaten your fill, be sure to praise Yahuwah your God for the good land he has given you. But that is the time to be careful. Oh, yes. Listen, y'all. But that is the time to be careful. Beware that in your plenty, you do not forget Yahuwah your God and disobey his commands, regulations, and decrees that I am giving you today. For when you have become full and prosperous and have built fine homes to live in, and when your flocks and herds have become very large, and your silver and gold have multiplied along with everything else, be careful. Do not become proud at that time and forget Yahuwah your God, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. Do not forget that he led you through the great and terrifying wilderness with its poisonous snakes and scorpions, where it was so hot and dry. Boom. Pause for a second right here, because we read about these snakes and these poisonous snakes and scorpions, right? It just give you that little bit. But when we read in the Legends of the Jews how these poisonous snakes and scorpions surrounded them on every side, right? And it was the glory and the cloud of Yahuwah that kind of kept them at bay, so none of them got bit or stung. I'm telling y'all got them. Yahuwah will lead you to so much more wisdom. And for those that's not ready, it's a closed book to them, and they just take it and they toss it away. I'm just like, oh man, what are y'all doing? I'm coming to search your trash can, bro. You just threw away some gold. Hold on. Listen. Do not become proud at that time and forget what Yahuwah your God, and do not, I'm reading too fast. Do not become proud at that time and forget Yahuwah your God, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. Do not forget that he led you through the great and terrifying wilderness with its poisonous snakes and scorpions, where it was so hot and dry. He gave you water from the rock. He fed you with manna in the wilderness, a food unknown to your ancestors. He did this to humble you and test you for your own good. He did all of this so you would never say to yourself, I have achieved this wealth with my own strength and energy. Remember Yahuwah your God. He is the one who gives you power to be successful in order to fulfill the covenant he confirmed with your ancestors with an oath. But I assure you of this, if you ever forget Yahuwah your God and follow other gods, worshiping and bowing down to them, you will certainly be destroyed. Just as Yahuwah has destroyed the other nations in your path, you will also be destroyed if you refuse to obey Yahuwah your God. Let us be mindful, consider our ways. Last chapter for the day in Deuteronomy before we hop over to the LOJ. Yes, don't forget the hand that feeds you. Deuteronomy chapter 9. Listen, O Israel, today You are about to cross the Jordan River to take over the land belonging to the nations much greater and more powerful than you. They live in cities with walls that reach the sky. The people are strong and tall, descendants of the famous Anakite giants. You've heard the saying, who can stand up to the Anakites? But recognize today, excuse me, hold on. But recognize today that Yahuwah your God is the one who will cross over ahead of you like a devouring fire to destroy them. He will subdue them so that you will quickly conquer them and drive them out, just as Yahuwah has promised. After Yahuwah your God has done this for you, don't say in your hearts, Yahuwah has given us this land because we are such good people. No, it is because the wickedness of the other nations that he is pushing them out of your way. It is not because you are so good or have such integrity that you are about to occupy this land. Yahuwah your God will drive these nations out ahead of you only because of their wickedness and to fulfill the oath he swore to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You must recognize that Yahuwah your God is not giving you this good land because you are good, for you are not. You are a stubborn people. Ooh. Ooh. I want to be able to read this again. Let us remember. After Yahuwah your God has done this for you, don't say in your hearts, Yahuwah has given us this land because we are such good people. No, it is because the wickedness of the other nations that he is pushing them out of your way. It is not because you are so good or have such integrity that you are about to occupy their land. Yahuwah your God will drive out these nations ahead of you only because of their wickedness and to fulfill the oath he swore to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You must recognize that Yahuwah your God is not giving you this good land because you are good, for you are not. You are a stubborn people. Y'all hear that rain? It's raining again. Like, it's been doing some crazy rain. We was talking about it amongst ourselves the other day. Like, this is some strange rain. It sounds like buckets of water being poured outside, right? It's weird. Remember and never forget how angry you made Yahuwah your God out in the wilderness. From the day you left Egypt until now, you have been constantly rebelling against him. Even at Mount Sinai, you made Yahuwah so angry he was ready to destroy you. This is happening when I was on the mountain receiving the tablets of stone inscribed with the words of the covenant that Yahuwah your God made with you. I was there for 40 days and 40 nights, and all that time I ate no food and drank no water. Yahuwah gave me the 2 tablets on which Yahuwah had written with his own finger all the words he spoke to you from the heart of the fire when you were assembled at the mountain. At the end of the 40 days and nights, Yahuwah handed me the 2 stone tablets inscribed with the words of the covenant. Then Yahuwah said to me, get up, go down immediately, for the people you brought out of Egypt have corrupted themselves. How quickly they have turned away from the way I commanded them to live. They have melted gold and have made an idol for themselves. Yahuwah also said to me, I have seen how stubborn and rebellious these people are. Leave me alone so I may destroy them and erase their names from under heaven. Then I will make a mighty nation of your descendants, a nation larger or more powerful than they are. So while the mountains was blazing with fire, I turned and came down, holding in my hands the 2 stone tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant. There below me I could see that you had sinned against Yahuwah your God. You had melted gold and made a calf idol for yourselves. How quickly you had turned away from the path Yahuwah had commanded you to follow. So I took the stone tablets and threw them to the ground, smashing them before your eyes. Then, as before, I threw myself down before Yahuwah for 40 days and nights. I ate no bread and drank no water because of the great sin that you had committed by doing what Yahuwah hated, provoking him to anger. I feared the furious anger of Yahuwah, which turned him against you. I would drive him to... I feared the furious anger of Yahuwah, which turned him against you, would drive him to destroy you. But again he listened to me. Yahuwah was so angry with Aaron that he wanted to destroy him too. But I prayed for Aaron, and Yahuwah spared him. I took your sin, the calf you made. I melted it down in a fire and ground it into fine dust. I threw the dust into the stream that flows down the mountain. Y'all remember all that? Because a lot of them died. That same calf that he had melted down and stuff, he made them drink, right? It had the same effect upon them. Those who were guilty of worshiping it, it had the same effect on them as it did on the woman who was guilty of adultery. Remember, the priest made this dredge, and she was to drink it, right? And if she was guilty, that it will go into her body, cause her stomach to bloat and her thigh to rot, right? But if she was innocent, nothing would happen to her. This had the same effect. All those that drunk it and who were guilty of worshiping it, they passed on, right? You also made Yahuwah angry at Taberah, Massa, and Kibroth Hattava. At Kadesh Barnea, Yahuwah sent you out with this command: go up and take over the land I have given you. But you rebelled against the command of Yahuwah your God, and you refused to put your trust in him or obey him. Yes, you have been rebelling against Yahuwah as long as I have known you. This is why I threw myself down before Yahuwah for 40 days and 40 nights. For Yahuwah said he would destroy you. I prayed to Yahuwah and said, O sovereign Lord, do not destroy them. They are your own people. They are your special possession, whom you redeemed from Egypt by your mighty power and your strong hand. Please overlook the stubbornness and the awful sin of these people, and remember instead your servants, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. If you destroy these people, the Egyptians will say the Israelites died because Yahuwah wasn't able to bring them into the land he promised to give them. Or they might say he destroyed them because he hated them. He deliberately took them into the wilderness to slaughter them. But they are your people, your special possession, whom you brought out of Egypt by your great strength and powerful arm. And this is where we end this today. Tomorrow, we're going to pick this back up. Right, and this also begins to talk about how Yahuwah, he starts repeating that when we pray or when we make an oath, that we are only to use his name. We heard it yesterday when we was reading Deuteronomy. He mentioned it for the first time. He said, look, when you come, you ask me anything. You take an oath. He said, you do it only in my name. But through improper teaching, lack of understanding, and just simple, plain not reading what Yahuwah has given to us, people teach us to do prayers in other people's name and do it in 3 names, right? Yahuwah, I'm just saying, we perish for lack of knowledge. And I used to be guilty of it too. I'm just saying, people, Yahuwah is the final authority. And everything that we do should be weighed against what he has said. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, y'all. So Legends of the Jews. 22. On page 322. Remember yesterday we left off talking about the punishment of Aaron and Miriam for speaking against the Most Holy, right? They say you speak against Moses, you speaking against me, you know? So that's why they both got punished. Okay. Volume 3, chapter, volume 3, chapter, what is this? Chapter 4? I have no idea. Chapter 4 is right there. Volume 3, chapter 4, the sending of the spies. That's if you have the different page numbers because your book is smaller. But if you got the same book, it's page 322. All right. The punishment that Yahuwah brought upon Miriam was meant as a lesson of the severity with which Yahuwah punishes slander. For Miriam spoke no evil of Moses in the presence of anyone except her brother Aaron. She had moreover no evil motive, but a kindly intention, wishing only to induce Moses to resume his conjugal life. Good morning, because remember, it was Zipporah, Moses' wife, that got Miriam all hyped up, as we read yesterday, right? Okay, so if it wasn't for Zipporah, her being a little perturbed that Moses wasn't sleeping with her right now, Miriam was simply trying to mend the relationship, so to speak, right? You know, your wife is a little unhappy, bro. What you doing? Okay. All right, let me just start over here. Listen. The punishment that Yahuwah brought upon Miriam was meant as a lesson of the severity with which Yahuwah punishes slander. For Miriam spoke no evil intentions of Moses in the presence of anyone except her brother Aaron. She had moreover no evil motive, but a kindly intention, wishing only to induce Moses to resume his conjugal life. She did not even dare to rebuke Moses to his face, and still, even in spite of her great piety, Miriam was not spared this heavy punishment. Her experience, nevertheless, did not awe the wicked man who, shortly after this incident, made an evil report of the promised land, and by their wicked tongues stirred up the whole people in rebellion against Yahuwah, so that they desired rather to return to Egypt rather than to enter Palestine. The punishment that Yahuwah inflicted upon the spies as well as upon the people they had seduced was well deserved, for had they not been warned of slander by Miriam's example, there might still have been some excuse. In that case, they might have been ignorant of the gravity of the sin of slander, but now they have no excuse to offer. Y'all better watch them lips and be mindful of who you're talking about. Especially when you think you're talking about somebody who is truly Yahuwah's servant. Yahuwah say, you ain't talking against them, you're talking against me. You know, so let us be mindful to think about what we say before we speak, right? When Israel approached the boundaries of Palestine, they appeared before Moses, saying, we will send men before us, and they will search out the land and bring us word again by what way we must go up, and into what cities we shall come. This desire caused Yahuwah to exclaim, what? When you went through a land of deserts and of pits, you had no desire for scouts. But now you are about to enter a land full of good things, and now you wish to send out scouts? Not only was the desire in itself unseemly, but also the way in which they presented their request to Moses. For instead of approaching as they had been accustomed, letting their older men be the spokesman of the younger, they appeared on this occasion without guidance or order, the young crowding out the old, and these pushing away their leaders. Their bad conscience, after making this request, for they knew that their true motive was lack of faith in Yahuwah, caused them to invent all sorts of pretexts for their plan. They said to Moses, so as long as we were in the wilderness, the clouds acted as scouts for us, for they moved before us and they showed us the way. But as these will not precede us into the promised land, we want men to search out the land for us. Another plea that they urged for their desire was this. They said, the Canaanites fear an attack from us, and therefore hid their treasures. This is why we want to send spies in there in time to discover for us where they are hiding their treasures. They sought in other ways to give Moses the impression that their one wish was exactly to carry out the law. They said, has not thou taught us that an idol to which homage is no longer paid may be used, but otherwise it must be destroyed? If we now enter Palestine and find idols, we shall not know which of them were adored by the Canaanites and must be destroyed, and which of them were no longer adored, that we might use them. Finally, they said the following to Moses, thou, our teacher, hast taught us that Yahuwah would little by little drive out the Canaanites before us. If this be so, we must send out spies to find out which cities we must attack first. Moses allowed himself to be influenced by their talk, and he also liked the idea of sending out spies, but not wishing to act arbitrarily, he submitted to Yahuwah the desire of the people. Yahuwah answered, it is not the first time that they disbelieve my promises. Even in Egypt they ridiculed me. It is now become a habit with them, and I know what their motive is in sending in spies. If thou wish to send spies, do so, but do not pretend that I have ordered thee. Ooh. Moses hereupon chose one man from every tribe, with the exception of Levi, and sent these men to spy out the land. These 12 men were the most distinguished and most pious of their respective tribes, so that even Yahuwah gave his assent to the choice of every man among them. But hardly had these men been appointed to their office when they made the wicked resolve to bring up an evil report of the land and dissuade the people from moving into Palestine. Their motive was purely a personal one, but they thought to themselves they would retain their offices at the head of the tribes so as long as they remained in the wilderness, but would be deprived of them when they entered into Palestine. Okay, y'all. Significant names. Shalom, Josiah. Significant of the wickedness of these men are their names, all of which point to their godless action. The representative of the tribe of Reuben was called Shemua, the son of Zakur, because he did not obey Yahuwah, which was counted against him as if he had pursued sorcery. Remember also we read in, is it Jeremiah? I think it's Jeremiah. Don't quote me. But it's the scripture that rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, right? I'm telling you. Because he did not obey Yahuwah, which was counted against him just as if he had pursued sorcery. Shaphat, the son of Hori, was Simeon's representative. His name signifies he did not conquer his evil inclination, and hence he went out empty-handed without receiving a possession in the land of Israel. The tribe of Issachar was represented by Egal, son of Joseph. He bore this name because he soiled the reputation of the Holy Land, and therefore he died before his time. Benjamin's representative was Palti, the son of Raphu, so called because he spat out the good qualities that had previously been his, and therefore wasted away. The name of Gadiel, the son of Sodi, Zebulon's representative, signifies he spoke infamous things against Yahuwah in executing the secret plan of the spies. Manasseh's representative, Gadad, the son of Susi, was so called because he blasphemed Yahuwah and aroused his wrath. For it was he who said of the land, it eateth up its inhabitants. But the worst among them was Amiel, the son of Gemali, the representative of Dan. For it was he who said, the land is so strong that not even Yahuwah could go up against it. Hence his name, which means he cast a shadow upon Yahuwah's strength, and he was punished according to his wicked words, for he did not enter the promised land. Just like those who built the Titanic, not even Yah, well, they said God, not even God could sink it. Oh, really? I got this, y'all. Put two vagabond watch standers on watch, and they didn't see that big chunk of ice in the water. Oh, yeah? I'm going to show you. Asher's representative was Sether, the son of Michael, who had resolved to act against Yahuwah instead of saying, who is like unto Yahuwah? He said, who is God? Oh my gosh, what is wrong with them? Like, I know I didn't read this, but it blows me away. Like all the goodness and miracles that they've seen Yahuwah perform. It's like they still are constantly doubting that he's going to take care of them, right? Let me go back. Asher's representatives was Sether, the son of Michael, who had resolved to act against Yahuwah, and instead of saying who is like unto Yahuwah, he said, who is God? Naphtali's representative was named Nabi, the son of Vashi, for he suppressed the truth, and faith found no room in his mouth, for he brought forth lies against Yahuwah. The last of these spies, Gad's representative, bore the name Guel, the son of Maki, for he was humbled because he urged untruths against Yahuwah. As the 10 sinners were named in accordance with their actions, so too did the names of the 2 pious spies among them correspond to their pious actions. Judah's representative was named Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, because he spoke what he felt in his heart and turned aside from the advice of the rest of the spies. The pious representatives of Ephraim was Hosea, the son of Nun, a fitting name for him, for he was full of understanding and was not caught like a fish by the spies. Moses, who perceived, even when he sent out the spies, the evil intentions they harbored, changed the name of Hosea to Joshua, saying, May Yahuwah stand by thee, that thou mayest not follow the counsel of the spies. So I'm sure a lot of y'all knew that already, that Joshua's name was Hosea, but it was Moses who first called him Joshua, and hence why we know him by the name Joshua now, right? Okay. This name change was brought about by the prefixing of the letter Yod. At last silenced the lamentations of this letter. Hold on, let me read that again. This change of name that was brought about by the prefixing of the letter Yod at last silenced the lamentations of this letter. For ever since Yahuwah had changed Sarai's name to Sarah, the letter Yod used to fit about the celestial throne and lament, Is it perchance because I am the smallest among the letters that thou hast taken me away from the name of the pious Sarah? Yahuwah quieted this letter, saying, Formerly thou wert in a woman's name, and moreover, at the end, I will not affix thee to a man's name, and moreover, at the beginning. This promise was redeemed when Hosea's name was changed to Joshua, or Yahshua, or Yahusha. It depends on how you pronounce it, because we know that there is no letter J, right, in the Bantu language or the Hebrew language, right? When the spies set out on their way, they received instructions from Moses how to conduct themselves and in what particular way they were to know. He ordered them not to walk along the highways, but go along the private pathways, for although the Shekinah would follow them, they were still not to incur needless danger. If they entered a city, however, they were not to slink like thieves in alleyways, but show themselves in public and answer those who asked what they wanted by saying, We came only to buy some pomegranates and grapes. They were emphatically to deny that they had any intention of destroying the idols or felling the sacred trees. Moses furthermore said, Look about carefully what manner of land it is. For some lands produce strong people and some weak. Some lands produce many people and some few. If you find the inhabitants dwelling in open places, then know that they are mighty warriors, and depending upon their strength, have no need to fear of hostile attack. If, however, they live in a fortified place, they are weaklings, and in their fear of strangers, seek shelter within their walls. Now, let me tell you something. This will preach a whole nother sermon right here. I'm going to read this again. I want y'all to think about the people who call themselves Yahuwah's people, right? We know the European converts that people call Jewish people, right? Listen to what this says, right? You got to think about it. Yahuwah said when his people return to the land that we would be so numerous that the walls would not be able to hold us, right? We would be there'd be so many of us, you can't build walls around us, right? And we wouldn't need to build walls around us because Yahuwah himself is going to protect his people. But you think about it. Remember I said everything is flipped in reverse. Think about the people there now. They got all kinds of walls and barriers and noops going around that city, right? It's the complete opposite of what Yahuwah said. It does not line up with the scripture. Yahuwah said when we go back, there will not be walls around us. There will not be walls around us. Yet the people who call themselves the people of the book are surrounded by walls, and people are on watch at all times so that nobody will get in, right? They fear for their lives. They fear to be attacked, right? Y'all gotta pay attention. But Yahuwah said, those who live out in the open country, He said, you best believe that those are mighty warriors. They ain't worried about nobody coming to attack them because they can handle their own. But those who live behind walls, you best believe they are weaklings. I'm going to read it again. I ain't said, I'm just repeating to y'all what it say here, right? Listen. Moses furthermore said, look about carefully what manner of land it is. For some lands produce strong people and some weak. Some lands produce many people and some few. If you find the inhabitants dwelling in open places, then know that they are mighty warriors, and depending upon their strength, have no fear of hostile attack. If, however, they live in a fortified place, they are weaklings, and in their fear of strangers, seek shelter within their walls. Examine also the nature of the soil. If it be hard, know then that it is fat. It's a typo. But if it be hard, then know that it is fat. But if it be soft, then it is lean. Finally, he bade them to inquire whether Job was still alive. For if he was dead, then they assuredly needed not to fear the Canaanites, as there was not a single pious man among them whose merits might be able to shield them. Now y'all might be thinking, Job? Yes, Job was still alive, because if we go all the way back, remember when Moses was on the mountain the first time, when he came up the mountain and he was transported to heaven, he was being guided by one of the angels who saw the angel of death. He said, who is that? And the angel he was with, he said, this is such and such. This is the angel such and such. He said, well, where is he going? He said, he goes to fetch the soul of Job, right? So remember, the righteous people, y'all gotta put it all together. When righteous people live in the earth, they are a shield to their generation. That's why he said, listen, first of all, y'all need to find out if Job is still alive. If Job is still alive, then ain't nothing happening. But if Job is already gone, you best know that we about to take this place, because they have no shield for them. Like, there is not one righteous person living in this land, because Job is gone, right? You better pray that there's righteous people living among this generation, right? Because the forces are coming. They're coming to sweep the land of all the wickedness and hand it over to the righteous, because it is the righteous who inherit the earth, and the wicked are rooted out. And people being rooted out every day. Y'all better pay attention. Listen, I'm going to read this again. Examine also the nature of the soil. If it be hard, then know that it is fat. But if it be soft, then it is lean. Finally, he bade them inquire whether Job was still alive. For if he was dead, then they assuredly needed not to fear the Canaanites, as there was not a single pious man among them whose merits might be able to shield them. And truly, when the spies reached Palestine, Job died. And they found the inhabitants of the land at his grave, partaking of the funeral feast. Ugh. The spies in Palestine. On the 27th day of Siwan, Moses sent out the spies from Kadesh Barnea in the wilderness of Paran, and following his directions, they went first to the south of Palestine, the poorest part of the Holy Land. Moses did not like the merchants who first showed the poorer wares, and then the better kind. So Moses wished the spies to see better parts of the land the farther they advanced into it. When they reached Hebron, they could judge what a blessed land this was that had been promised them. For although Hebron was the poorest tract in all of Palestine, it was still much better than Zoan, the most excellent part of Egypt. When therefore, that remind me of something, y'all. When we see, like, when they be showing, at least from what we've seen growing up, whenever they show anything about Africa, they show you the most dirtiest, rundown part. It wasn't until recently, like this last year, where I began to actually look at some of the stuff and look at some of the people, videos who visited there. I didn't even know they had beautiful, clear oceans there. And I'm like, what? Where is this? Y'all, they first of all,
Everybody tell you to don't go back to Africa. They call you all kind of names, your African booty scratcher, like everything to get us to think bad about Africa. But all the world loves Africa, right? Yahuwah said they divided up my land and parted it among themselves. They get us to look with an evil eye upon our homeland, yet everybody is dividing up pieces of it. That's what a Berlin conference come in. They think people divide up the little slither of land that the European converts and said, no, they ain't talking about it. It's talking about the whole continent of Africa. The whole world is made rich from the wares and all the riches and resources that are found in the entire continent of Africa. And I've shared quite a few times on social media on how you can look at the entire continent and through the borders that they have set up throughout the entire continent, what can be found in every place: the gold, the copper, the silver, the cotton, the coffee, the all precious metals and foods, and how it's plenteous in places, right? The rubber, all these things, right? They get us. So what it just said here, it said when visitors come, they like to take them to the poorest places first. They kind of like, we gotta get out of here. Ain't nothing but dirt, poor, broke people here. And that's what they show us on the news. You see these, send 10 cents a day over here to Africa. The children are dying. They need food. You know, but they got the biggest, some of the most plenteous food that's found over there. I'm like, what? What is this? Like, it's the same stuff that was happening then is happening now. And they just are able to fool us a little bit better through television and social media, especially if we haven't been over there, right? So social media and recording, it can be a blessing in the hands of those who are not trying to fool us, right? And they say, look at this, y'all, look. So I'm grateful for some YouTube videos and people's personal blog pages and people who travel and been outside the states and travel to different places. I've been to a lot of different places, but I haven't been inside of Africa, right? You know, so, but yeah, this is the same thing. So this is what they was doing. I'm gonna read it again. Listen. When they reached Hebron, they could judge what a blessed land this was that had been promised to them. For although Hebron was the poorest tract in all of Palestine, it was still much better than Zoan, the most excellent part. Hold on. I should have went back a little bit further. Let me go back up. Hold on. It started here. Listen. On the 27th day of Siwan, Moses sent out spies from Kadesh Barnea in the wilderness of Paran, and following his directions, they went first to the south of Palestine, the poorest part of the Holy Land. Moses did like the merchants who first showed the poorer wares and then the better kind. So Moses wished the spies to see better parts of the land the farther they advanced into it. When they reached Hebron, they could judge what a blessed land this was that had been promised to them. For although Hebron was the poorest tract in all of Palestine, it was still much better than Zoan, the most excellent part of Egypt. When therefore the sons of Ham built cities in several lands, it was Hebron that they erected first, owing to its excellence, and not Zoan, which they built in Egypt fully 7 years later. Their progress through the land was on the whole easy, for Yahuwah had wished it so, that as soon as the spies entered the city, the plague struck it, and the inhabitants, busy with the burial of their dead, had neither time nor inclination to concern themselves with the strangers. Although they had met with no evil on the part of the inhabitants, still the sight of the three giants, Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, inspired them with terror. These were so immensely tall that the sun... Hold on. Okay. These were so immensely tall that the sun reached only to their ankles, and they received their names in accordance with their size and strength. The strongest among them was Ahiman, beholding whom one fancied oneself standing at the foot of a mountain that was about to fall, and exclaimed involuntarily, "What is this that is coming upon me?" Hence the name Ahiman. Strong as marble was the second brother, wherefore he was called Shishai, marble. The mighty strides of the third brother threw up plots from the ground when he walked. Oh, wow. Hence, he was called Talmi, plots. So when he walked, he just ripping up the ground. You know. Okay. Not only the sons of Anak were of such strength and size, but his daughters also, whom the spies chanced to see. For when these reached the city inhabited by Anak, it was called Kiriath Arba, city of four, because the giant Anak and his 3 sons dwelt there. They were struck with such terror by them, they sought a hiding place. But what they had believed to be a cave was only the rind of a huge pomegranate that the giant's daughter had thrown away, as they later, to their horror, discovered. For this girl, after have eaten the fruit, remembered that she must not anger her father by letting the rind lie there, so she picked it up with the 12 men in it, as one picks up an eggshell, and threw it into the garden, never noticing that she had thrown with it 12 men, each measuring 60 cubits in height. Now, you can imagine why they left this part out, why they didn't canonize this. They just say, oh, there were giants in the land, and we look like grasshoppers in inside. Go on ahead to the next passage. They left out all this stuff. When they left their hiding place, they said to one another, behold, the strength of these women, and judged by their standard of men, they soon had an opportunity of testing the strength of the men. For as soon as the 3 giants heard of the presence of the Israelite men, they pursued them. But the Israelites found out with what manner of men they were dealing with, even before the giants had caught up with them. One of the giants shouted, and the spies fell down as dead men, so that it took a long time for the Canaanites to restore them to life by the aid of friction and fresh air. The Canaanites hereupon said to them, why do you come here? Is not the whole of your world your God's? And did he not parcel it out according to his wish? Came ye here with the purpose of felling the sacred trees? The spies declared their innocence, whereupon the Canaanites permitted them to go their way unmolested. Hey, baby girl, you can't hop up here. You don't have on any pants. Go find your hop down. Go get some pants. Tootie. Okay, you can stand right there, but don't climb up here. And you still gonna try to climb up here. I'm gonna see you upstairs. Go. Go. Get down. No. I'm about to call you daddy. Go. Thank you. I'm gonna come after you and I'm gonna stomp on your little feet, little girl. Quit stomping on my stairs. I ain't really gonna stomp on her feet, y'all. And I know this live. That was an exaggeration. I'm gonna get her for stomping on. I'm sorry. Okay, let me put this back up. A phone call came through. All right. Why do you come here? Is not the whole of your world your God's? And did he not parcel it out according to his wish? Came ye here with the purpose of felling sacred trees? The spies declared their innocence, whereupon the Canaanites permitted them to go their ways unmolested. As a reward for this kind deed, the nation to which these giants belong have been preserved even to this day. They would certainly have not escaped the hands of the giants had not Moses given them 2 weapons against them, his staff and the secret of the divine name. I'm telling y'all. Oh, I pray to the Most Holy that he teach me how to pronounce it appropriately so we got it in our retinue when some of these things start happening. Because I'm telling y'all, these days coming, the only thing that's going to save us is his name. And there is literally power in his name, right? I'm telling y'all better get close to the Most Holy, because some of these catastrophes and stuff that's coming, we're going to be here and we're going to see it, right? Before we go back to our own land, because he said he wants us to see. He wants us to behold what's going to happen to our enemies, right? So y'all just need to make sure y'all not swept away with what's happening to the enemies of the Most Holy, right? I'm just saying. They would, they would certainly have not escaped from the hands of the giants had not Moses given them 2 weapons against them, his staff and the secret of the divine name. These 2 brought them salvation whenever they felt they were in danger from the giants. For these were none other than the seed of the angels falling at the antediluvian. Did I say that right? Antediluvian. I'm sorry, that's how you say it. For these were none other than the seed of the angels fallen in the antediluvian era, sprung from their union with the daughters of men, and being half angels, half men, these giants were only half mortal. They lived very long, which is why King Og was still there. Remember? Because King Og escaped the flood. But they saw King Og in their day here. They lived very long, and then half their body withered away. Threatened by an eternal continuance of this condition, half life and half death, they preferred either to plunge into the sea or by magic herb which they knew to put an end to their existence. They were furthermore of such enormous size that the spies, listening one day while the giants discussed them, heard them say, pointing to the Israelites, "There are the grasshoppers by the trees that have the semblance of men, for so they were in their sight." The spies, with the exception of Joshua and Caleb, had resolved from the start to warn the people against Palestine, and so great was their influence that Caleb feared he would yield to it. He therefore hastened to Hebron, where the 3 patriarchs lie, and standing at their graves said, "Joshua is proof against the pernicious influence of the spies." For Moses had prayed to Yahuwah for him, "Send up prayers now, my fathers, for me, that Yahuwah in his mercy may keep me far from the counsel of the spies." There had always been a clash between Caleb and his comrades during their crossing through Palestine. For whereas he had insisted upon taking along the fruits of the land to show their excellence to the people, they strongly opposed this suggestion, wishing as they did to keep the people from gaining an impression of the excellence of the land. Hence they yielded only when Caleb drew his sword, saying, "If you will not take the fruits, either I will slay you or you will slay me." They hereupon cut down a vine which was so heavy that 8 of them had to carry it, putting upon each the burden of 120 seah. The 9th spy carried a pomegranate, and the 10th a fig, which they brought from a place that had once belonged to Eshcol, one of Abraham's friends. But Joshua and Caleb carried nothing at all, because it was not consistent with their dignity to carry a burden. This vine was such of a gigantic size that the wine pressed from its grapes sufficed for all the sacrificial libations of Israel during the 40 years' march. After the lapse of 40 days, they returned to Moses and the people, after having crossed through Palestine from one end to the other end. By natural means, it would not, of course, have been possible to traverse all the land in so short a time, but Yahuwah made it possible by bidding the soil to leap for them. They covered a great distance in a short time. Yahuwah knew that Israel would have to wander in the wilderness 40 years, a year for every day the spies had spent in Palestine, and hence he hastened their progress through the land, that Israel might not have to stay too long in the wilderness. Man. Okay, where we at? I'm going to read this last section, the slanderous report, y'all. Babe, can you stop there for a second? Thank you. When Moses heard that the spies had returned from their enterprise, he went to his great house of study, where all Israel too assembled, for it was a square of 12 miles, affording room to all. There too the spies betook themselves and were requested to give their report. Pursuing the tactics of slanderers, they began by extolling the land, so that they might not be too unfavorable. A report aroused the suspicion of the community. They said, "We came unto the land whither thou sent us, and surely it flowed with milk and honey. This was not an exaggeration, for honey flowed from the trees under which the goats grazed, out of whose udders poured miles, so that both mile and honey. Oh wait, I guess mild is an actual thing. Okay, I thought it was miles. Okay, This was not an exaggeration, for honey flowed from the trees under which the goats grazed, out of whose udders poured mile, so that both mile and honey moistened the ground. But they used these words only as an introduction, and But they used these words only as an introduction, and then passed on their actual report, which they had elaborated during those 40 days, and by means of which they hoped to be able to induce the people to desist from their plan of entering Palestine. Nevertheless, they continued, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. Concerning the latter, they spoke untruth with the intention of inspiring Israel with fear. For the sons of Anak dwell in Hebron, where the Caleb alone had gone to pray at the graves of the patriarchs, at the same time as the Shekinah went there to announce to the patriarch that their children were now on their way to take possession of the land which had been promised to them of yore. To intensify to the uttermost their fear of the inhabitants of Palestine, they furthermore said, the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. They threatened Israel with Amalekites as one threatens a child with a strap that had once been employed to chastise him, for they had a bitter experience with Amalek. The statement concerning Amalek was found on fact, for although southern Palestine had not originally been their home, and I want to say this, right? They're saying Palestine in here. No, I thought it was milk. It's not milk. It could have been milk, right? Right, you're right. I'm sorry. Right, the goats. You're right. I just looked at that. I looked up and I saw exactly what she was talking about. It was, okay, let me read that again. Let me just go back up. I screwed that all up. Thank you. I'm glad I looked up. Okay. They said, we came unto the land that thou sentest us, and it surely flows with milk and honey. This was not an exaggeration, for honey flowed from under the trees which the goat grazed, out of whose udders poured milk. You're right. It says mile here, but I tell you, the person with the they need to pay closer attention to detail. Okay, this was not an exaggeration, for honey flowed from the trees under which the goats grazed, out of whose udders poured milk, so that both milk and honey moistened the ground. But they used these words only as an introduction, and passed on to their actual report, which they had elaborated during those 40 days, and by which means they had hoped to be able to induce the people to desist from their plan of entering Palestine. So remember, the person, I brought this up just a second ago, the person who's writing it, sometimes we'll see like, he'll say Jewish, but it should be Hebrew, or the actual name of the Hebrew people, Yahuwah's people. It should be that name, but we know from his understanding, he was a Jewish person, but he was a person who was able to get, because of his position, he was able to get a hold of some of these other manuscripts and put them together. So based on what he understands, even like you hear some of the Jewish months in here, it's not those months, because our months didn't have names, they were numbers. But because of how he grew up and what he understood, he kind of added those things in here, right? So when you see Jewish, think of us. Think of Hebrew instead. Replace the word with the right word, right? And this is not necessarily Palestine as we see Palestine over here, right? But y'all understand what I'm saying, right? So some of the places, because of how they changed the names, it's kind of off. But at the time that he wrote this, and he put it together and published it in 1909, these were the current names, right? Okay. Just want to make sure y'all understood that. Nevertheless, they continued, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. Concerning the latter, they spoke an untruth with the intention of inspiring Israel with fear. For the sons of Anak dwelled in Hebron, where Caleb had alone gone to pray at the graves of the patriarchs. At the same time as the Shekinah went there to announce to the patriarch that their children were now on their way to take possession of the land which had been promised to them of yore. To intensify the uttermost their fear of the inhabitants of Palestine, they furthermore said, the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south. They threatened Israel with Amalek as one threatens a child with a strap that had once been employed to chastise him, for they had had bitter experiences with Amalek. The statement concerning Amalek was found on fact, for although southern Palestine had not originally been their home, still they had recently settled there in obedience to the last wish of their forefather Esau, who had bidden them to cut off Israel from their entrance into the promised land. If, however, continued the spies in their report, you are planning to enter the land from the mountain region in order to evade Amalek, let us inform you that the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And if you plan to go there by sea, let us inform you that the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan. As soon as the spies had completed their report, Joshua arose to contradict them, but they gave him no chance to speak, calling out to him, by what right dost thou? Who is that? Did you just fall down the stairs? Oh, you dropped that, girl. Okay. Take this back upstairs. Yeah. Go ahead. Take it back upstairs. I'm sorry, y'all. As soon as the spies had completed their report, Joshua arose to contradict them, but they gave him no chance to speak, calling out to him, by what right dost thou, foolish man, presume to speak? Thou hast neither sons nor daughters, and what dost thou care if we perish in our attempt to conquer the land? We, on the other hand, have to look out for our children and our wives. Joshua, therefore, very much against his will, had to be silent. Caleb now considered in what way he could manage to get a hearing without being shouted down as Joshua had been. Caleb had given his comrades an entirely false impression concerning his sentiments, for when these formed the plan to try to make Israel desist from entering Palestine, they drew him into their council, and he pretended to agree with them, whereas even then resolved to intercede for Palestine. Hence, when Caleb arose, the spies were silent, supposing he would corroborate their statements, a supposition which his introductory words tended to strengthen. He began, "Be silent, I will reveal the truth. This is not all for which we have to thank the son of Amram, but to the amazement of the spies." His next words, praise, not blame Moses. He said, "Moses, it is he who drew us up out of Egypt, who clove the sea for us, who gave us manna as food." In this way, he continued his eulogy on Moses, closing with the words, "We should have to obey him even if he bade us ascend to heaven upon ladders." These words of Caleb were heard by all the people, for his words were so mighty that they could be heard 12 miles off. It was this same powerful voice that had saved the life of the spies. For when the Canaanites first took note of them and suspected them of being spies, the three giants, Ahiman, Shishai, and Talmai, pursued them and caught up with them in the plain of Judea. When Caleb, hidden behind a fence, saw that the giants were at their heels, he uttered such a shout that the giants fell down in a swoon because of a frightful din. When they had recovered, the giants declared that they had pursued the Israelites not because of the fruits, but because they had suspected them of the wish to burn their cities. Caleb's mighty voice did not, however, in the least impress the people of the spies. did not impress the people or the spies, for the latter, far from retracting their previous statements, went so far as to say, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are. They are so strong that even God cannot get at them. The land which we had gone to search, it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof through disease, and all the people that we saw in it are men of wicked traits. And here we saw men upon the sight of whom we almost swooned in fright, the giants, the son of Anak, which come of giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we are in their sight. At these last words, Yahuwah said, I have not objection to your saying, we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, but I take it amiss if you say, and so are we in their sight. For how can you tell how I made you appear in their sight? How do you know if you do not appear to them to be angels? And that is where we're going to pause today, my beautiful friends. And we'll pick the rest of this back up Saturday when we come back, because we rest tomorrow. So we started here on page 322 in the Legends of the Jews, and we ended on page 326. And we read, here we go, moving my stuff. Deuteronomy 7, 8, and 9. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. Go ahead and read ahead if you can. If you got the book, I left all kind of resources there. You can listen to it. You can read it online. You can order from Amazon. I don't get any kind of kickback. And when I just come across stuff, I share it with everybody. So go get it if you can find it. If it's still there, get it, read it, download it, listen to it, whatever. I do it all. I read it. I listen to it when I'm walking through the house, filling myself in, and just like I listen to the Bible, I just put it in my ear. You know, I multitask doing different stuff. That's how I can assimilate it in myself so fast, because I'm listening to it all the time. All right, beautiful people. When it seemed like Caleb had like a voice like Judah did, right? Because we remember when they were in, when they first went to Egypt and they ran into their brother and they didn't realize that was their brother. When they was about to go toe to toe, Judah and Joseph was about to go toe-to-toe, Judah let out a roar that caused the entire land of Egypt to shake. Not only did it cause the land to shake, it caused all the pregnant women to miscarry their babies. Guys, I'm telling you, there were supernatural gifts. Caleb did the same thing. It said he let out such a loud shriek that it caused the giants who looked like mountains to pass out, right? Yahuwah said, I ain't pissed with y'all that y'all said that we seem like grasshoppers in their sight. He said, I'm more pissed with you that you would say, and we look like grasshoppers in their sight. He said, how do you know how I made you look to them? How do you know how they looked at you? Right? How do you know I didn't make you look like angels in their sight? And that's why they got cut off. I'm like, bro, Father, make me look like an angel. What you need me to do? You can make me look like I got a sword of flaming arrows and stuff. I'm going to just move my hands like they did. Ain't nothing in my hand. I may look like a fool, but I know you behind me. And when you see me doing this, just know, y'all, you better do something. I don't know. This is how I think, y'all. You know, I know y'all is behind me, and he watches out for me and my family. I really do. You know, so I'm sure, Listen, I'm going to share something with y'all. I think I shared this before. I did. I shared this before last year, right? And it was the first time I had shared. I had not even told my mom or my dad about this. Something that had happened to me, right? Okay. So I had to be like, and this is along with what I just said. He said, how do you know how I made them look in your sight, right? Let me tell you something. Now, it wasn't necessarily how I looked, but I think this guy saw something because he froze, right? So there was this guy, and y'all probably remember once I started telling the story. As I said it, I remember that I told y'all this last year, but I brought it up for a whole different reason. But I just remembered it again. There was this guy. This was before we had moved away to Illinois. We were still living here in Virginia. We were living in Norfolk, Virginia, and we lived out on Tanner's Creek. If Mama said here, she probably know. But we lived out on Tanner's Creek, and there was this guy that my dad, this neighborhood kid, he had to be like 18, 19 years old from what I understand. I think I was like 10. So he would come. He was a kid, cut the neighborhood grass or whatever. But he was like, he He was definitely older. He had, he may have been young, but I want to say now, as I look back at it, I can't remember his name, but I can see his face. He had little facial hair. You know how teenage, well, he could have been a little older because this was really kind of filled out. He wasn't like a, but you can tell how it's coming in or whatever, learning how to shave, all that. But anyway, it was the neighborhood kid that come to cut the grass, and my dad would let him cut our grass. And one particular day, we was outside, me and my sisters. Well, me and Alicia, but Alicia had already gone in the house, and he came around. You know how kids walk around the neighborhood with their lawnmower or whatever, but you could tell he was an older teenager. He had to be 18 or 19, but possibly even 20. But he came around like he normally do. I didn't think I wasn't afraid of him or anything, because he had never, done anything for me to be afraid, So he pushed, and we had a gate around our house and everything. And he was walking through the alley, because he walked through the alley because everybody's like yard was in the back, and there were like gates and stuff. So he would come in, neighborhood kids, unlock your fence, come in, knock on your door or whatever, if they're in the back or they're in front, and that was fine. He did that, it was a normal thing. But he came in, he said, hey, he said, I want to cut your grass. He said, is your dad home? I was like, no, he not home. But I know now I should have never had said that. I learned at that point, I don't ever tell anybody that my parents are not home, but my mom was actually in the house, but I don't think he thought about my mom. I said, no, my dad not here, So he said, oh, okay. He studied walking towards me and stuff. And I'm just like, well, I didn't really still think of nothing, so I'm standing on the side of the house. I forgot what I was out there. I was doing something, but on the side there are no windows on the side of our house. And I was standing over there we lived in a townhouse, and there was like a nice little long piece of yard. But on that side where I was standing at, there were no windows in my house right there. Right. And so I was standing over there, and I was playing with something. I was going to go back in the house, but I was standing, but he came, and I figured he was just going to come through and just like walk to the front, so I wasn't thinking about it. So as I'm standing over there by the fence doing whatever, I forget what I was doing, but I was out there doing something. But as he walked past me, okay, whatever, we used to people walking through our yards and stuff. As he went walking past me, he grabbed me. Right, and he pulled me up against the stuff, and he started rubbing himself like up against my backside. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, let me go. I was like, I'm gonna tell my dad. And then when I said I'm gonna tell my dad, it was like he froze, and like, because he had me, I wasn't facing him. He had my back up against his front side, and we were both facing in the same direction. And when I said I'm gonna tell my dad, like I screamed, I'm going to tell my dad, like I'm thinking somebody should have heard me. I said, I'm going to tell my dad. But what happened was he froze, like he froze. When he froze, I was able to break free, but he was like still there in that frozen position. And I turned around because I'm about to take off running. And as I'm taking off running, I looked back at him. He was still standing there, froze, like somebody was standing right there that he was looking at. And as I think about this to this day, I'm not sure how long he stood there froze. But as I think about, I never forget his face. It was like a look of pure terror and horror on his face. Like, how somebody sees something like that. His face was like, he was froze. His face was like that. So I'm not sure what this boy saw, but the more I think about it and a look of terror on his face, he saw something there that I clearly didn't see. But thank the Most Holy, whatever it is that showed up that allowed me to get away. Right? I'm like I said, I don't know how long that boy stood there, but as I took off running, and I didn't run directly into the house, I ran. I ran around. I came back the other side, and I ran in the front door. I had to run around the block. We weren't that far from the end house, but I took off running. I ran out, and I ran back through the front. So, when I ran in the house, I ran to the living room. It wasn't the living room. I passed by the living room. I ran in, it's what you call the den. The den is like attached to the kitchen with the bar and stuff. I ran in there, and there was a chair. Yeah, there was a chair. Listen, when I ran in there, Mom, you were standing in the kitchen. I don't know. You may remember this. I ran in the house, and I ran in there, and I sat in that chair that we kind of had right over there close by not the dining room, the laundry room door. And I ran over there and I sat in that chair, and I was like, it was like the single, not the love seat, but like the single chair. And I sat in the chair and I was like, and I was looking, and you was in there cooking. And I'm like I was like out of breath because I just got running, but I was shocked at what could have possibly just happened to me. You know, I'm 10 years old. I didn't know he was going to like kidnap me or try and do something. I didn't know. I'm 10 years old. I didn't know what was about to happen. And I didn't know what caused him to freeze outside and have him look that way. He was like, you okay? And I'm just like, but I was so scared. And I just sat there. I sat there in that chair for a little while because I didn't know, like I said, I was 10. I didn't know if the guy was going to try and run in the house, because apparently he must have thought that nobody was there when I said my dad is not here. I don't know if he was going to try and come in the house or what. But I never saw that dude again. Like, he never cut our grass again. I've never seen him in the neighborhood again. I can't tell you what happened to that boy. You know, so only the Most High know. I don't know. Maybe he got unfrozen. I don't know. I really don't know. But I know something supernatural there happened that day that saved me from whatever he was thinking about doing to me. Blessed be the Most Holy. But I thought about this as I was saying this. He said, how do you know how I made you look in their sight? How do you know that I didn't make you look like angels in their sight? You know, and although it wasn't me that he was looking at, it came to me when I saw it. Because he clearly saw something. I don't know, maybe he was having a heart attack or something that caused him to freeze and all his stuff. I don't know. But the look that I saw as I was running, I looked back because I didn't know if he was chasing me. So I looked back real quick, but he was still standing there frozen. Like, because the way I broke, he like had me like this, but he was still standing there frozen. Like his arms was away just a little bit, and I was able to slip. And I was a real skinny kid. I was able to slip from under his arms, and he stood there frozen like. And I thought about it, but I'm out of here, right? You know, so. Blessed be the Most Holy. I've had some things happen where I'm like, clearly, Father, I don't know what they saw, but I know it was only because of you that I got away. You know, so I'm just like, whew. It's like things like this that I think about. I was like, Father, I know you're real. I know people be like, well, how do you know it's really a God? I was like, I have too many supernatural things and close calls that have happened in my life for me not to acknowledge that he is there, right? You know, so. But I just wanted to share that, y'all. Okay, so let's go on here and do the blessing. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And remember, the Nazarite vow is the first 21 verses. Man or woman can take the Nazarite vow. You should look into it. It's not a decision that should be made hastily, but really look into it. You know, Yahuwah does special things with Nazarite. So consider taking a vow, maybe, in your life, if you can. If you're up to it. You know, I'm just saying. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I love y'all, and I will see y'all bright and early Saturday morning. What time? 7:30. Remember, on the weekends, we do 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But throughout the week, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless it's a Sabbath. Then you won't see us at all. We won't come live. We rest in that day. All right? That is all. I love y'all, and I see y'all Saturday morning. Love you. Bruce.